Welcome everyone back to the Crimson 15 podcast. I'm your host, Crimson Sen.
15 PCA.
810-454.
Be sure to check us out over on Twitter at C15 Podcast. Join the discussion over on Discord, link in the description below. And if you're enjoying the videos, be sure to sub, like, share, and hit that bell for notifications. X-Men 97, a continuation of the original series from the 90s. They've finally kind of brought it back, and they did, a pretty good job. This first episode was foundationally solid. There's a couple of gripes that I have. It's usually with, the animation sometimes looks really, cheap. Someone said it was animated the same way they did Archer, and you can see it sometimes, especially when people are talking. It looks a lot like Archer. But besides that, I liked this. I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. If you want to see the quick and dirty review, I do have a TikTok link in the bio. I also have on the YouTube shorts. I do like a quick little 1-minute rundown right after I watch the episode, but this is going to be your long format version. It's going to be about maybe 20 minutes, who knows. But I liked it. All the voice acting was amazing. They did bring back some of the original voice actors. They did retcon a couple of things, or at least I feel like they did. Some of it seemed a little like, I didn't think Xavier died at the end of the original series. He went with Leandra. I thought that's where she did. Like, he left. Because she could heal him. But in this one, he's straight up dead. So I don't know if they just changed that or if I'm remembering it wrong. But let's jump right in. We open up and we have the Shung mutant being captured by the Friends of Humanity, which are the stand-in for any of these kind of racial groups, only humans, whites only. It's easy. You can make that connection. That's what these people stand for. Any type of group that's bigoted against someone just because they're different. The opener, they kept it exactly the same. They just changed it to their animation. So yeah, kept the same music and everything. Love it. Perfect. But so they got this kid and he's like, hey guys, I don't know what's going on, but if you need money, I got money. Obviously, he comes from a rich family, but they're like, oh, it ain't about the money, mutie. We're gonna, it's about like punishment. And they have these Mega Man Buster cannons. There's no other way to explain what these things look like. They look exactly like a Mega Man Buster cannon. And of course, the X-Men show up, and they're doing all the cool. There's a lot of cool action set pieces. Some of it's amazing. Some of it is ridiculous. We'll see when they fight the Sentinels how silly it actually gets. But I saw stuff on the internet saying like, oh, Storm is finally badass. What world were we living in where people didn't think Storm was badass? Honestly, anyone who watched the original series loved Storm. She was amazing. People read the comics. She's freaking amazing. So where was this like, oh no, she wasn't cool and now she finally is? What crazy world were we living in? Anyways, she's cool. She's dropping lightning balls and she's doing kind of making fog and everything. Super cool. Bishop shows up and they have to do the obligatory, this is how everyone's powers work. Bishop can absorb energy. So if you hit him with the laser gun, it's going to power him up and he can shoot it back. But this, I thought it was all type of energy because then like this thing explodes and it knocks them out. Wouldn't he absorbed that explosion, like that energy from the explosion? Like I'm thinking in my head that would happen, but I guess not. Then we get a little like an ass whoop-a-thon. Cyclops is a badass. They kind of in the original series he was kind of like the the Boy Scout to Wolverine, but Cyclops is a freaking stud on the battlefield, like no doubt. And he's beating the crap out of these dudes, and everyone's like, yeah, he's so badass. Well, these are just dudes. These are just regular dudes that you would see like at a racist bar where like, hey, we don't like your kind here. So yeah, of course he can toss these guys up. Like it shouldn't be an issue. So he's beating the crap out of all these dudes. They take his visor, but then they don't know how his powers work. So he can still shoot his lasers with his eyes. People seem to make this mistake. They showed in here, it's a concussive blast. It'd be like getting hit with a wave of water. He can make it small enough to where it can actually cut you, again, like a water jet. But if he shoots a big blast at you, it's like someone just shoving you into the wall. So it can cut, but it is a concussive blast, not just like a laser beam that can cut you up. Also, his eyes are portals to a dimension of pure energy. I don't know if they do that. Like that is canon in the comics. So when he opens his eyes, he's opening windows into another universe that's just filled with energy. So that's what just pours out of him. Isn't that hilarious? But that's how his powers work. They beat the crap out of all these dudes and they save the kid. You open up at the X Mansion and people, really stupid people, are like, look what they did to Gambit. He'd make him look so gay. This is how dudes dressed in the 90s. I grew up in the 90s. If you were like a physically fit dude, you dressed like this. This was just the style. Little half shirts and everything. That's just what guys dressed like. But he's like making the world's biggest pot of beignets and like he's serving it up like it's a meal. Like a beignet is like basically it's like a donut. It's what it is. It's a fried bread with powdered sugar or sometimes honey. And they're like serving it up like it's a meal. I'm like, what the hell? Like, who serves just beignets? That's like, I don't know. But they're talking about, Xavier's gone and how hard it is on everyone. And Cyclops is just like, you guys should have been there. And he's like, oh, you guys got these. The Fringe of Humanity or nothing. You had Bishop and Storm. That should be enough. Then we get Morph. And they gave Morph his Age of Apocalypse look, which is odd. There was a reason for that in the comics, but there's no reason for it to be in this version of Morph. Of course, they have to push this whole non-binary thing. Everyone who can change shapes in comic books or in media, they have to be non-binary, right? Because they can change their shape. Newsflash, if you took Morph and knocked him out, he would revert to his normal form, which is just a man. I know that just blows people's brains, but that just like Mystique, if you knock her out, she'll end up being the blue-skinned, red-haired version of herself because that's what she looks like. When she has no control over her powers, she reverts to her base state, and it's a woman. Same thing with Morph. It's a man. Whatever. Don't want to talk about it anymore. But of course, he was the jokester, so he's like cracking wise and everything, pretending to be the Xavier, which is really weird. The man just died in this version, and then you're going to be like making fun of him or making jokes about it. I don't know. It's a little insensitive, Morph. Like, you really shouldn't do that. Then we see that Jean's pregnant, and she's basically telling everyone, hey, stop acting like dunderheads, and let's just go ahead and talk to the kid. He should be waking up right now. We get Beast, and Beast is awesome. I love Beast. And it's that just because he looks like a ferocious monster, he's actually insanely intelligent. And that was always cool. I love that in the original series when he ended up getting arrested and Magneto broke him out of prison. He's like, no, I'm going to stand trial because that's what you do. And of course, Magneto's like, screw these humans. We're better than them. We don't have to abide by their laws. But Beast is like, no, I'm going to just stay here and this is what we do. We are not superior. We are equal. We're all humans. That's the message of the X-Men. Not the, oh, we're different. We're better than you. And if you don't like us, we're going to kill you. That's not the message. The message is that we're all equal. But we get Jubilee. And, these kind of shit. And she was the newcomer in the original series. Just like, hey, kind of talking about her experience. And then this is when I was talking about the animation looking weird. This scene where they're standing there and just talking. And then Storm is standing there just blinking but not moving the rest of her body. It's weird looking. It's kind of weird. But they're just like, hey, kid, why do those people kidnap you? He's like, I don't know, man. And he just doesn't want to kind of give up. And he's like, I'm going to get out of here. I want to go home. He's like, you could be in danger. If we don't know why they were looking for you, how they found you, some information, how did they get those weapons? Do you know anything about that? But the kid just doesn't want to do it. He just wants to get the hell out of here. Then, Jubilee's like, oh, I'll show you some, this place isn't so bad because you got to stay for a while just to keep you safe. But we, kind of shows him the danger room. And then we get the whole like Magneto, danger room scenario. Super cool. And Wolverine shows up, and of course Wolverine is who he is, and he kind of doesn't attack the kid, but he just scares the hell out of him. And he's like, oh, another one of your programs? And then, no, Wolverine is just Wolverine. Kid freaks the hell out. Obviously, he's got freaking knives and about to bust through his head. Get back to Jean and Cyclops. They're talking. They're kind of like trying to figure out how the heck do these people have Sentinel tech? Like, where did this come from? I thought they were all disabled. And then they're like, well, then obviously some of it still got out. Scott's like, oh, wow, trusting the government, working with you guys. You were supposed to take care of this. And obviously it wasn't taken care of. But so I don't know if they're still like doing all this, like, secretly still funding the Sentinels and stuff. There's some intrigue there. Like, can they completely 100% trust the government? But Jean's like, you know what? Maybe it's time we move on. Leave the team in the hands of everyone else. I mean, you just, retire. And of course, Scott's like, no, Scott's going to go and he's going to live and die for Xavier's dream. And Jean just kind of wants to call it quits and just be a mom and have a family. But when you have the powers that you do, kind of like with Spider-Man, you know, if to sit down and do nothing and just be like a happy guy who just happens to have all these amazing powers and you don't help people, it's awful. It's a terrible, it's a curse, and you know, it's a gift and a curse. But you can kind of see both sides of that. They're outside playing basketball, the rest of the team, and they're kind of just goofing. You know, they're just being goofballs. And Jubilee's really mad at Wolverine because she scared away the kid. And because he's like, you know, did his whole claw thing. And of course, he doesn't like Cyclops. And they always had their heads are always butting because Logan really loved Jean too. But then when Jean goes, oh, do it for me. And of course, he's going to do it because anything, if Jean asks him to do something, he's going to do it. You know, because also Wolverine can, you know, has super heightened senses. So he'll be able to like tell where you're at just by your scent, kind of like a hound dog. And also what's really fun too about that is even someone like Morph that can look like somebody else, sound like somebody else, even copy their powers, he can smell Morph and know that it's Morph and not the person he's pretending to be. Another little cool little thing that they showed that in the original series too. They tracked the kid to a club, and he's like, of course, he's kind of doing the whole rave thing, and he just wants to, he seems to be like a spoiled rich kid. He just wants to have fun with his money. Then we also learn a little bit about Rogue, how she's super strong, she can fly, and she can also, if she touches you, she basically drains your life force, but also if she touches a mutant, she can absorb their powers. That's kind of how she got her powers. Originally, she could just touch you and just drain you. She was just like a regular girl. She grabbed Captain Marvel, you know, Miss Marvel, and held on so long, it literally drained her of all her powers and made it permanent. So she could fly and was super strong. So she took all of her powers. But at the same time, it took her memories. So she had this whole, you know, Carol Danvers was in her brain, like basically being like a ghost in her head. And then when she went to Xavier helped her like build like mental blocks to keep that out. Which, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Someone to put someone in a coma and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's to trap them away like in a mental prison. See, there's a lot of cool stuff in the X-Men storylines that they don't really touch on that. But she's like, you know, if I went down there and I was dancing down there and someone touched me, that, you know, they would get zapped and basically pass out. And Gambit is in love with Rogue. And he's like, hey, you know, any man would it's worth the risk, you know, even if it kills you, they would definitely want to touch you. And this, I love their relationship because Gambit is like a mega player, like hardcore. He's probably wined and dined a few ladies in his time. He loves a woman he physically can't touch. Like he can't ever, you know, do the things that Gambit does with other ladies, but he loves her anyways. That's an amazing, I love that story about how Gambit can be like this, you know, oh, chasing the ladies. Then we would settle down with this one woman that he literally cannot touch, but he still loves her. So they just kind of go and dance and kind of have fun with them, you know, just trying to like, oh, we'll look for the kid. They end up finding him, and Jubilee's like, hey, you know, you ran off. You shouldn't have done that. Those guys are still after you. It's like, oh, come on. They kind of hit it off. I do like their dynamic, these two. And she's like, you know, you can come with us. We'll keep you safe. I know it was scary and everything, but the X-Men give you a home. They can, you know, teach you how to use your powers, how to control them, how to, you know, grow into it. Because some people's mutant powers are insanely powerful and some people's are super mundane. We don't know what this kid's powers are yet, but, you know, Jubilee's like, hey, you know, come with us. These guys, the Friends Humanity people show up, and I'm thinking, did they track this kid, or do they know this is just a place where mutants like to hang out? Jean and Cyclops are on a mission to find out there must be a second Master Mold, but Master Mold was the big robot that made the Sentinels. And they're like, hey, Gyrick and all them, like, because he got arrested at the end of the last episode. So he's in jail. They're trying to give him a, not like a shakedown, but they're doing an interrogation. And like, hey, you tell us if there's a second Master Mold somewhere, and then we can, you know, shorten your sentence. And he's like, haha, I don't care. I killed Xavier, which I don't think he did in the original series. I maybe my memory is faulty, but I don't think he killed him. But there, he's like, you're not half the man that Xavier is. And he's like, yeah, you're right. I'm nothing like Xavier. And they just basically infiltrate his brain. Xavier wouldn't do that because he like had like a moral code of like not invading someone's mind unless he truly had to, or he had their permission. But Jean uses Cerebro, and they kind of, Cerebro makes my power stronger, you know, giving everyone all the little well, I'm gonna say like this is what this does. This is what this does. First episode, they have to do that kind of stuff. She goes into his brain, sees that there's a master mold in the desert. That's where they've been building it. So they have a second master mold, but then she has like a vision, like of her baby, and all this crazy stuff happens. So I'm thinking, what was that? Where did this come from? Was this something from her baby? Was his psychic powers mingling with hers? Is this the Shadow King? Is this Apocalypse? Like, why did she have this vision? Because normally your powers are go into your brain, but not to have like necessarily have visions. Anyway, she's like, hey, Scott, we got to find this thing. We got to destroy it because the vision I had just was no bueno. So they're on the Blackbird. Blackbird, cool as freaking. That jet is so awesome. One of the toys I never had as a kid, I really wanted one so bad. The whole Blackbird jet thing is such a cool design. The SR-71 is one of the coolest jets ever made. They're flying out there, and of course they got the banter. I like the banter, and I don't like the banter. It sometimes it gets a little much, and it's like, come on, guys, like you're on a mission. Stop acting like jerks. They get attacked by a Sentinel in the sky, and then he just totally rips apart the Blackbird. And I'm thinking to myself, didn't this thing have radar or some type of warning signal? But we get a big action set piece. I like how they're falling out of the sky. I'm like, oh no, this again. Rogue can fly. Storm can fly. And Morph just turned into Angel, so he can fly. They scoop up everyone. They save everyone. And then Scott has to be like the world's biggest show off. And as he's like heading towards the ground, he just uses his concussive blast to slow himself down and do like the greatest superhero landing ever. And then you get the line. I mean, to me, my X-Men, okay, I love it. I was like, ooh, that was awesome. I absolutely loved that line. But they see that, oh, there's a second master mold, and he's pumping out some Sentinels. And then we get a big battle. The fight's super cool. I love it. Looks great. Rogue doing like kind of wrestling moves on these giant robots because she's strong enough to do that. There's like a clothesline headlock thing. Beach is jumping around. Wolverine slicing up things. Gambit's exploding cards. I love it. It's classic X-Men. It's great. They get all the way down to the master mold. Excuse me. First, we get, again, another really cool scene with Storm where she does like this whole like ice storm tornado thing. Super awesome. And this is another one of those things I saw on Twitter. Like, oh, finally, Storm is being showed how cool she is. Again, I don't know what world you were living in, what fantasy land where Storm wasn't always a complete, utter badass. But anyways, she wipes up all the loose Sentinels, and then Master Mold is going to do his final attack. Then we get the goofiness. This is goofy. I'm sorry. It makes no sense. It's really stupid. They start running at the Master Mold. Gambit jumps on Wolverine's back, so he's like riding him like a tiny donkey. Gambit's power is to charge things up with kinetic energy. So he can charge up a card with so much kinetic energy, when he throws it, it blows up. He can do larger things like cars and stuff like that, but the bigger the item, the harder it is for him to do. That's why he likes to have the cards. They're small, he can carry them, and they look cool. He kinetically charges Wolverine's claws, and so it's like explosive claws. One, would that even work? And two, they're already razor sharp adamantium. They don't need to be explosive too. It'd be like if I took a knife and I lit it on fire and I stabbed you with it. Like, does the fire add anything? And him riding him like the little donkey, man, it's just weird. It's goofy as hell. Anyways, they kill the Master Mold. They get the international peacekeeping forces there and everything. And they kind of have like, we'll make sure, to take care of him and get him arrested. But can we trust the government? I don't know if we can. We get another nice scene with, it's Sunspot. That's who this mutant is. And Jubilee kind of talking him to, hey, why don't you stay? I know it's tough. They don't even let me fly the jet, but I have a home here. And you can just be yourself. And then he kind of has that look on his face. She's like, oh, your parents don't know, do they? He's like, I hide it from them. I don't want them to know because I don't want them to think of me any different. I don't want to be an outcast. And she's like, hey, it's not being an outcast. It's just being who you are. He activates his powers again. Sunspot's a cool character. I love it. But I do like the fact that he's dropping the Mega Riz. he's the Risley Bear right now, and he's like, hey, if you came with me, I'll let you fly my private jet. Like, he's being, hey baby, super cool. I like it. It's cute. But he takes off. He wants to go home. Then we get everyone's back home and they're all playing their basketball game and everything. And of course, this is the banter I like when Rogue and Gambit. I love it. They're so fun together. But then they get an alert that someone has infiltrated the mansion. And then we get Magneto. And he's like, oh, poor old Charles. It's funny that he picked up the picture after it got knocked off the wall and they just left it on the floor. That's so weird. But, of course, Magneto's awesome. I love Magneto. He's a villain. I love him as a character. I don't agree with what Magneto does, but I love him as an amazing villain. But he's like, hey, check out this will and testament of Charles Xavier. He left everything to me, so you're my X-Men now. So, but that's how it kind of ended in the original series. It ended with Magneto kind of basically taking the X-Men in, and he's going to kind of be the new Xavier. But this one kind of makes it to where it seems like he's still like super evil about it. I don't know. But that's the end of the first episode. Pretty good. I liked a lot of it. A lot of it I liked. The animation, some of the art direction is a little weird. Some of the banter and the goofiness, kinetically charged animanium claws, it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. But besides that, I liked everything else. It was pretty dang good. Episode 2, I think they're up to episode 3 right now. But thanks for watching, guys. Again, check out my TikTok and YouTube shorts if you want the short videos. But yeah, I love the X-Men. This was a pretty good episode, a good first step, and can't wait to see the next one. Crimson Sin here. Thanks for watching the video. Remember, liking, subscribing, sharing, and commenting on the video really helps out a lot. It gets the video spread around more people get to see the videos, and we get to make more videos for you guys. So thank you, and we appreciate every single one of you guys.